feel like King James.
Sounds like it is straight from the motherfucking cassette.
I hate when you get to a point in your career where people feel like they got you figured out and there's no more surprises. I like people to press play on my stuff and still be surprised.
Turn it up, baby. All the ducks necessary, yo. Hey, yo. Okay. Hey, yo. Son.
Two, one.
Dusttin with two T's here once again, back at you live on the Dusttin Bowerman Show. We're back
on this Manic Monday, week 6 of the Dusttin Bowerman Show, and we're finally here to talk about some things. Once again, that's what we do here, you know what I'm saying? This is a common occurrence, is that on our show we do happen to talk about things. You know, who would have thunk that an actual show / podcast would talk about things? You know, I figured we'd just sit here in silence for, you know, an hour and a half. I thought that was a normal thing that people do these days.
Whatever happened to Manic Monday, man?
Did I miss it? Did I actually miss it? I'm sorry. Did I actually miss it? Okay, sorry. It's Manic Monday, February 8th. That's how manic it is that we accidentally missed it. Anthony's got a fresh cut. He didn't do it. Did you do it yourself, Anthony? Who did your cut?
No. My family's gone to this one person for like over a decade, so you know.
So you went outside and you came in contact with somebody that could have COVID-19, is what you're saying, Max or Anthony. So you could have just broke protocol right there. You could have just broken protocol to get a haircut.
I'm going to kick Dustin's ass after this show.
Listen, the only reason I'm bringing it up here is because we have some drama, boys. We have some drama with Jenny. This is a little bit different. This is on a different scale. Okay, we'll give you a break this time, Anthony, but if you go outside again, if you ever go outside again, bro, I swear to God, you will be hunted down by the FBI and murdered by I'll have hitmen on you, basically, if you go outside ever again. You're not allowed to go outside, basically.
What the hell?
Yeah, well, this is what you get. You got to follow COVID-19 protocol, bud. Do you care about your family? Do you care about old people? Huh? Or are you just gonna fucking?
This was the last time I ever left the house.
Well, apparently
last weekend.
Apparently over the weekend.
That one. It's been months since I left the house. Besides this one.
So you broke, is what you're saying. You fucking broke on us, Anthony. You broke on us. You cracked. Oh my! Even the best of us are cracking in this troubling time. But speaking about a person that's not exactly the best of us, because she's been kind of on the front of these issues for a while. First topic for the day, boys, is going to be about OTK and Jenny drama, basically. Then secondly, we're going to talk about CSGO and why Shroud hates it. He mentioned that CSGO is garbage. I don't know why. Who knows why? We'll see about why later. T1 Valorant has mentioned how Brax and AZK are no longer on the team. Those are some big changes. And then also, Dr. Disrespect was in the Super Bowl. What's with that? Also, Nadeshot was. We could talk about that potentially. Oh my God, already burping throughout the day. Jesus Christ. Dude, the wings over the weekend hurt me like hell, dude. Holy shit. Shax is on to the not LA Valiant. I was going to say that. On to the London Spitfires. Shax is officially on the roster now, officially announced and confirmed. We mentioned how there was a rumor that he was going to be going to the London Spitfires earlier, maybe like a week ago, 2 weeks ago now, pretty much announced around the same time when we said that Kai was going to the Atlanta Reign. He is now official, and that's actually first before Kai is officially announced. So we'll talk about that later. And then also at 4 p.m. PST, Gunba will be on the show. And despite all belief, he is not a Goomba. He is a Goomba. Different. There's a difference between a Goomba and a Goomba, whatever his name is. We'll talk about him later. Goomba is a great guy. Coach for Immortals. The Valorant team that just placed second place in the VCT Challenger Series, also won the first seed in the qualifying matches leading up to it. But more importantly, guys, I think first of all, we have to talk about this. I can run you down exactly what happened with Jenny and OTK, a.k.a. the One True King group, pretty much. We can give you a quick rundown on exactly what happened. So we'll give you a little bit of background here. One True Kings is a streamer group, basically, where it was founded by a couple streamers in October 11th, 2020. The streamers being Asmongold, Mizkif, Esfond, or Esfand, I don't exactly know how you pronounce his name, Rich Campbell, and Tips. Couple big name streamers. They've been around for a little bit, 5 of them. And then an additional streamer, Nymph, was added October 27th. A.k.a. Nick, Soda Poppin's friend, Soda Poppin's dude that made it as a streamer himself. He's a very entertaining, very fun guy. Good comedic timing. But the whole situation, why there's something drama going on down here, is that basically Ginny, a Korean streamer, came over to visit because her and Esfond are close friends. They've been friends for a while. She came to come visit Esfond. But there was already kind of some red flags because she already wasn't really quarantining that well because obviously COVID-19 has been started. Like, it's been going on for a while now. But near the beginning of COVID-19, when at its height, she was actually traveling to Europe and shit like that. Like, she was out there traveling the goddamn world during this global pandemic, which already was kind of a red flag because she was doing that, not taking it seriously, and hasn't been taking it seriously since the beginning. But then she goes to Texas to go visit Isfahan because that's where OTK is based, and they're all in a house, in like a little streamer house, basically. She comes to Texas, and then she's already kind of traveling Texas, trying to visit Texas, live her life, you know what I'm saying? Go over the place, go do what she wants. Which already was also raising like a second red flag, you know what I'm saying? So already 2 strikes for Ginny. She's already gone to Europe to go visit a place. She's already traveled on Texas. So it's already not looking good. She's not taking quarantining seriously. The 3rd strike comes at a very alarming rate. Basically, her brother came to come visit Ginny in the Austin house in Texas with the OTK group, basically. And this is when OTK went to confront her and was like, hey, you're not quarantining, but you're not taking quarantining seriously. Like, you gotta fucking take this shit seriously because guess what? This is a goddamn global pandemic. And Asfahan's, or Asmongold, sorry, I don't know why I say Asfahan. Asmongold's mother is literally like one of the highest like people to catch COVID-19. If she catches COVID-19, literally, quote unquote, from Miskiff, she's donezo. She's garbanzo beans. She's out of here, basically, is what Miskiff said. Like, she is no longer in this world if she catches COVID-19. So they're taking it incredibly seriously. Like, incredibly seriously. And there's a lot of people not taking COVID-19 seriously because it hasn't impacted them directly. And I can say that as well. Like, listen, COVID-19 hasn't directly impacted me. But guess what? That doesn't mean you can just fucking ignore it, right? Like, that doesn't mean you can just ignore COVID-19 protocols and quarantining and shit like that if people take this shit seriously. Like, for example, Anthony and Max here. Because they take it probably more seriously than I do. And you have to respect that. If other people take COVID-19 seriously, you can't just ignore them and fucking like be like, hey, by the way, I'm bringing over somebody that could potentially give you COVID, you know? And I'm not going to follow quarantining very seriously. It's fucked up.
That's probably why we haven't seen COVID affect anyone in our lives yet. we actually take
because
it seriously.
We've been good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, that probably is why. Like,
there's one particular group in our set of friends that I'm like concerned about are going to spread it all to each other. But you know, that's a separate thing.
No.
That's kind of hard. I'm pretty sure we all have that person in that friend group or whatever that is not taking it seriously. Like, that is a normal thing. And it's not a good thing. Like, that's what I was saying. So Ginny, basically, they confronted Ginny and they were like, you got to leave. Like, they was telling her, you got to leave the house because obviously you're not taking the shit seriously. You have your brother here. You know, it's kind of Monka-esque. And they're kicking her out. This, by the way, none of this would have been public. Like, none of this would have been public shit if Ginny didn't go live on her stream. Like, Ginny went live on her stream crying with Esfon and stuff there to talk about it. But if she didn't talk about it, none of this would have been public. And she wouldn't have been seen as such an idiot. Because, to be honest, she's a fucking moron. Like, doing this shit and not taking COVID-19 seriously.
I feel like it would have leaked out eventually, right? Because she was part of the house. Was she not?
Maybe she just wanted the content.
And she would have. Yeah. They would have found out like, oh, why is she not there anymore?
She could have just said like she wanted to go see New York or something. I don't know. It would have. She's still stupid for going out and traveling the country like in the first place. But at least she would be an idiot by herself. You know what I'm saying? Now she's brought other people into it.
How do you even go into Europe these days? I thought it was all closed down.
Not anymore. Not anymore, yeah.
Oh, really?
It just closed down. This was like a couple months ago, I'm pretty sure. I don't know the exact dates or timings. But yeah, I don't know, dude. It's pretty fucked up, man. It's pretty... Apparently, according to a quote here, by the way, she said, quote unquote, I wouldn't be able to handle being quarantined. Quarantined. That's why I don't do it.
Fucking idiot.
What the
Genuine
fuck?
Fucking idiot.
What does that even mean? You can't... I wouldn't be able to handle...
I wouldn't... Jesus, fuck. How dumb do you have to be? What the hell?
You got like a big house there.
She's apparently pretty spoiled. Like, apparently this is what the reasoning behind it is, that she's kind of grown up in like a rich like household, I guess. So she's never had to go through that kind of stuff, you know? Which we're not giving her an excuse. Yeah, we're not giving her a fucking excuse. She's still a goddamn moron, you know? Like, she's still fucking stupid. But it's like how people were saying in the other day, we were talking about how we mentioned how like people kind of get up in arms on the internet these days, like in general, just because, you know, there's not like a major strife, which, listen, somebody said like, oh, that's white privilege, that I'm not saying there's major strife. Listen, you're probably right to some degree, but it's like major strife being literal fucking war. You know what I'm saying? Like actual fucking war. Like, I think generally like BLM and that kind of stuff is important. Like, those things are actually huge political statements and huge political movements that are massively impacting our society today. But guess what? That's not USA versus China in a fucking nuclear battle. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is a fucking major strife. Like, major strife is literally putting the entire world's progression on goddamn hold for like goddamn massive gain, pretty much, or massive loss, like the Holocaust, some shit like that. Like, that's major goddamn strife. You know what I'm saying? Fucking shit in America, that's big news, but it's not major strife. It's not like you don't have to go outside and go into these protests. You know, you're not forced to do that. People are forced to join the fucking draft. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a different scenario. Okay? So that's what I mean by there's not major strife going on right now. So people are looking for shit to get mad about. And then also, people are looking for shit to do during this entire situation. Now, listen, I'm not saying COVID-19, a giant global pandemic, is not a major strife. I think it is. But I think it's just forced people inside, which has kind of created an environment where people care a lot more and people are going to kind of push their narrative and do whatever they want online because they got nothing better to do with their fucking day because they're quarantining like good people. You know what I'm saying? Which Ginny was not. Ginny is basically, to preface this, I'm Jewish, so she's basically fucking Hitler. You know what I'm saying? Like, at this point, like, is she that bad of an individual? You know, I mean, probably not. Actually, that's a little bit too far to push it. You know, like, that is probably a little bit too far to push it, but she's pretty fucking bad, dude. Like,
literally
doing this shit,
Hitler,
man.
huh?
Literally goddamn. No, I'm not going to repeat the phrase one more time. Then I'll get three strikes like fucking Ginny, dude. Like, come on, man. You can't be doing this, though. But at the same time, it's like, do you feel that, like, bad for her because of this? I don't feel bad for her. Listen, I agree with you, man. I don't feel bad for her. But what I'm kind of taking, like, what I'm kind of cringing at almost is, so apparently Nymph, a.k.a. Nick, doesn't like Ginny. Like, really doesn't like her. And recently, they've been playing games, stuff like that. The OTK group, they do a lot of shit. They play a lot of games. They're awesome, really fun streamer group. But they're playing games, and like 4 of them on a couch. It's like, I think it's Nick, his girlfriend / wife. I don't exactly know the relationship. Mizkif and Asmongold. They're all playing on the couch, playing some games. And there was like a joke or something like that. Nick was like, made a joke about Ginny, you know, leaving. She was like, oh, staying inside or whatever. And then Mizkif also, in another clip, also made a joke about Ginny. So it's like, they're kind of making light of the scenario, you know what I'm saying? Which are like kind of making fun of her, like they're doubling down, you know what I'm saying? Which is, honestly, I don't know. Is that understandable? Should you kick somebody while they're down in this situation if they're a terrible person? If they're literally the fucking, like, Satan, you know?
What? Were they down? It didn't sound like she was down at all.
No, she was crying. She was crying on her stream, basically. She was like, fuck, I'm getting kicked out of the house, you know? Like, she was pretty sad.
It was just.
It was just. It was totally just. But I'm saying she already got kicked out of the house. Isn't she already, like, punished enough? You know, like, you have to. No? I guess, yeah, she hasn't learned. She really hasn't learned. She basically said she's leaving because she wants
traveling to New York right after this.
Yeah, no, she deserves everything coming to her. I take it back. She deserves everything fucking coming to her. She's a fucking moron. She's a goddamn idiot. And we can all agree on that.
She can do whatever she wants. She just stay away from me.
No, yeah, you say that, but she shouldn't be allowed to do whatever the fuck she wants. She's literally putting people at danger, right? Like, going around.
I guess so, but like, what's she gonna do now? Is she gonna have like her own apartment with her brother?
I think she's getting like Airbnb or something like that in New York. Basically, he didn't have much time. Like, in her head, she was like, okay, he doesn't have much time over here in America. We need to go travel and do shit. You know what I'm saying? Because otherwise, then he has to go back to Korea or whatever.
What was he doing over here?
Visiting her, I guess, and hanging out and going exploring the U.S. You know, that was the entire purpose. So they're already, goal number 1 purpose was already in the wrong. So, yeah.
I don't know. We got Discord. Discord works enough for now.
True. Discord does work out for now. That's pretty much what we do. All we hang out is through Discord these days. And that's probably how the normal person that is taking COVID-19 seriously is doing. They just go on Discord all day, you know, which is honestly understandable. That's the actual gamer life we need to be living right now. But there's a fucking shit ton of drama, dude. This is ridiculous. I mean, she kind of deserves it.
I have to call you out here. Her name is spelled with an I, not an E.
What? I didn't. What? It's spelled with an I. It is spelled with an I. I didn't say it was spelled with an E. What do you mean?
Yes, you did.
You're saying
Jenny.
You're saying Jenny.
Jenny? What? Same thing, bro. Come on, it doesn't fucking matter. Why do you guys care about how I pronounce things?
I gotta make sure you know.
What the fuck, man?
And make sure the viewers know you know.
Hey, Jenny. Fuck, man. I used to, you know, whatever. I don't have any excuse. I used to call people like, there was a girl named Ginny or Jenna as well or something like that, and I kept calling her Gina or something like that. Like, I don't know, dude. I have weird. I don't know.
Did that piss her off?
No, I don't think so. Because she was a nice person, but I don't know. And it's easy for me to mispronounce things. You know what I'm saying?
Because I know how you are with pissing people off.
I don't do that. I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm familiar.
I don't piss people off. I'm a pretty normal individual. But no. You know who did piss? I mean, Ginny did piss people off, though. Listen, I didn't piss people off like Ginny did. At least, you know, I'm not on her level of
That's
stupid.
true.
You know,
you didn't put people in high danger, pretty much.
Not yet. Until I go walk around with 500 AR-15s in my back pocket and fucking start mowing people down. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm just kidding. All right, Max, can we move on here?
Speaking of pissed off, you know who else is pissed off? Shroud.
Pissed off?
He's a hater now against CSGO.
Jesus.
He's turning his back on the game that made him what he is now. So basically, on his stream, I think he was playing Valorant or something. One of his viewers said, "When are you going to play CSGO again?" And he's like, "I'm not playing that garbage. If it was any good, I'd play it." And basically, he reasons that there's pretty much cheaters fucking everywhere on CSGO now.
Oh yeah.
You try to go in and have fun. There's aimbotters, there's wall hackers, there's spin botters. You can't have a good time on CSGO anymore, at least not in the lobbies. So now that's why he says Valorant, you can actually be confident in having a good time. You can actually have a real game in there, which I don't know. That's huge from a ex-pro CSGO player to say that the game is garbage now. It wasn't even that long ago that he was playing, right? Like 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
No.
What happened in those 4 years?
I mean, there's always been a cheater issue. I think he's wanted to play the game casually, I guess, which is the ranked mode. You can't do that, though. I think even back when he was playing, you have to kind of play in a you have to play in a different era, or you have to play in a different mode, basically. With ESEA, with FPL, for people that don't know, in Counter-Strike, basically, the only area you can go to get good games is to literally play in a separate, pug lobby, basically. Because ranked is going to be full of cheaters, like you said. And that was kind of the situation, I guess. Yeah.
Is Valorant going to be like that soon, then? People just haven't...
I mean, there's enough cheaters in Valorant as well.
Well, yeah, we've talked about it. It's the safe haven for cheaters, right?
Literally, the number one guy in EU was a cheater.
Yeah. It's
Who knows
so
who
fucking
else
easy.
is?
Probably many. You know, but we mentioned how Vanguard and it's called Vanguard, right? The actual battle eye. So yeah, Vanguard is pretty fucking intrusive. So it is better than Counter-Strike, but they're both free to play games. I think Samantha mentioned this. Counter-Strike is free to play, but Valve hasn't ever taken their anti-cheat very seriously, pretty much. And then, Valve's Vanguard is pretty fucking intrusive, but their game's also free to play. I haven't really ran into many cheaters in Valorant, to be honest.
Actually, that's a good point.
I've had 2 games that did the whole red screen cheater game doesn't count already.
Oh my god, that's not that bad though. What are you saying?
It's only 2.
Well, the CS:GO used to be $15-$20, right? Maybe that was a big barrier to cheaters.
Yeah,
because now they could just load up a new Steam account and there you go. You can play again.
The thing is, it actually wasn't that big of a barrier because, like we mentioned, back in 2016, dude, or back in, I think it was 2014, the cheating issue was so bad. It was every other game I played when I was SMFC, when I was back at Supreme Master First Class, which is the second highest rank, which was hard to get. This is the way I phrased it. This was when it was hard to get SMFC or hard to get Global Elite and shit like that in Counter-Strike, was because literally every other game you'd have a cheater. They basically, what happened was they banned cheaters and they made it a lot easier. So then it was actually not as hard to get Global Elite. So basically I had to play against fucking cheaters every other game to actually make it high rank.
When was this? 2014?
2014, yeah. This was back in when we were in high school. Yeah, this was back when we were in high school when I was playing Counter-Strike all day. I was actually good at Counter-Strike, you know what I'm saying? But
so people were just paying $20 to cheat in a game that they don't play?
They probably didn't. They probably fucking didn't. They probably just got some Russian hacked account or something like that, right? For $2. You can just get hijacked accounts to cheat, I guess. I don't know.
What's the point?
Baby Bay cheated before. The point, Baby Bay, my former teammate, now Valorant professional player, cheated in Counter-Strike, for people that don't know. He cheated. Yeah, he cheated in Counter-Strike, and He said, I think, quote unquote, from his what he said to me, he's like, I just did it for fun, dude. he was like, the tournament didn't matter. Nothing actually fucking mattered. I just did it for fun, is what he said. So
that actually makes a lot more sense now.
Cheaters just have the mindset it's just fun. That's why we're gonna have a cheater on the show. I want to do like a thing. You know how what's it called on like FBI's Most Wanted? They'll do like a thing where like they'll have somebody that's like a wanted criminal or something, and they'll like blank out their face or whatever. I think that's what they do, right? Or they do it with one of those shows where they blank out their face and they put a voice changer on them.
Yeah.
It's also for like the LA gangs or whatever, like Gang Wars, I think it's called or something. But we could do that with a cheater
on there.
Yeah, we could do that with a cheater. We give them a voice changer, we blur out their face, and then it's just some guy fucking talking. Maybe we're gonna do that. We'll actually get a cheater on and see what their train of thought is. What goes in the mind of a cheater? You know what I'm saying? What's happening? What's happening in their brain? We need to know. Because, I mean, also, by the way, yesterday, more Valorant news, because we'll just talk about it since we're on Valorant, I guess, since it's also in the Counter-Strike terms. Yesterday, Slasher tweeted how last night, during a Brazilian VCT tournament, during a 15-15 overtime scenario, the game fucking crashed. The game literally crashed during 15-15. And then apparently the bugs happened before, or it's happened before in several matches across all regions. And it's been brought up to Riot, but it hasn't been addressed because nothing actually major has happened just yet until yesterday, until last night. Because guess what? In that 15-15 overtime, one of the Brazilian teams, VRX, was up 4v2 in a post-plant scenario. Riot then forced a restart because the game went past 90 minutes. The game apparently Valorant games can't go past 90 minutes. So Riot forced a restart after VRX was in the fucking round in a 4v2 scenario. VRX lost the entire game, or lost the round, and then lost the whole fucking series because of this. They would have probably won this, that round, and they probably would have won the series. But because the game had to restart during a 4v2 scenario, it pretty much just totally reset back to 5v5. And the other Brazilian team, was taking advantage of the scenario and basically came back and won the series. Which is, that's absolutely fucked up, man. You can't have this happen. There's no way. There's no way that your game can't go past 90 minutes, bro. Jesus Christ. The entire situation, the entire competitive integrity is now ruined. It's absolutely fucking ruined.
There's no way Riot doesn't know about this now, right?
Well, they
absolutely do.
They're just not doing anything. That's what people were. They're just literally doing jack shit for the scenario.
There's no way they do that too, right? This has to be some huge bug that they're working to fix.
Yeah,
because this literally affected a big esports tournament.
Yeah,
in Brazil.
It affected the VCT Challenger Series, or it affected VCT as a whole, which is absolutely terrible because this is the premium tournament that everybody's been leading up to. You'd think they would have fixed it by now, right?
Yeah, and
or at least addressed it.
This isn't the first time it happened, apparently, too.
No. Yeah, no. It's been seen before.
That's it. Is it like how long do your matches last usually? Have you ever gotten to 15-15?
To be honest, usually the thing is in Valorant ranked games right now. Listen, because I'm just starting to play Valorant once again. I took a break. Basically a while ago when I was I realized I wasn't going to be fucking professional at Valorant unless I really put time into it. I think I was Diamond 3, and then I quit the game because I was like, fuck this shit, dude. People are so toxic, it's the Valorant community, Valorant ranked games are incredibly fucking toxic and not fun, to be honest with you. Except, when you get good people on your team. But, for the most part, you're going to get that one toxic shithead pretty much every game. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much every game just kind of ruins the fun of playing Valorant ranked. But no, my games have never gone that long because usually people want to surrender once they go down to 0-7. People don't want to make a comeback because they're fucking morons. But I think this only happens you really only go in 90 minutes if everybody's playing slow as molasses. If everyone's playing fucking turtles, then it goes 90 minutes. Then it's heavily strategy games. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, usually they don't go 90 minutes.
So here's a question: with all the bugs still in there, and with all the pros saying how much easier it is than CSGO, is it worth it to play Valorant still over CSGO?
Is it worth it to play Valorant over CSGO?
Even
think
if
yes.
CSGO has more cheaters still.
I mean, yeah, I think so. I think you should rather just play, like, if you're going to be an aspiring professional player, for example, why would you not be playing Valorant right now? That's like the new game, you know? Like, why would you not be trying to go pro in Valorant? I don't know. We're like trying to play Valorant only.
More money.
Yeah, because like Shroud said, there's no reason to be playing Counter-Strike. Even with Valorant's all their bugs and stuff like that, the actual like ranked mode, the competitive mode in Counter-Strike is absolutely fucked. That's why Shroud ranted about it so much. Is because it's literally fucked up. Like, you can't play Counter-Strike without running the cheaters down. You have to go into another system where it's just not as fun, you know, or it's like too sweaty. You know what I'm saying? People are sweating their balls off, like, to a fucking like massive degree. They got heaters on their ball sacks. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're killing their own children to play Counter-Strike. Like, no, like, you don't fucking do that shit, man. Go play Valorant. You know?
Heaters on their ball sack.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like that, like sweaty balls. You know, like they literally have like a fucking oven attached to their ball sack, and they're like sweating their dick off. You know what I'm saying? Listen. These are slang terms for people that don't know. These are slang terms. They literally.
I think these are Dusttin terms.
No, dude, you don't think sweating your dick off is a fucking normal term?
No,
sweaty. Sure. Sweating your dick off? I ain't ever heard of it.
That is a common term.
No, I heard of that. I haven't heard of putting a heater next to your ball sack.
No, but
anyway.
I know. That's why I just brought it up. That's why it was an analogy, because, you know what I'm saying? They like attach. Like, you know how they have those.
All right. Let's move on from this.
No, I want to talk about this, man. Come on, dude.
It sounds like an awful idea.
What, you don't want to talk about sweating balls and sweating dicks right now, dude? Come on. You think you're being fucking anti-dick, man. Can't believe you're being anti-dick like this, Anthony. What do you got against dicks, bro? Huh? What do you got against dicks? But speaking about somebody that does have some interesting name, or did have an interesting name, that'd be a funny Smurf name, Sweaty Dick. Maybe not. You probably couldn't get away with it. Sweaty Johnson. That'd be a good one. Sweaty
That's
Johnson.
Probably taken.
Yeah, it probably is taken already. T1 VALORANT has released Brax and AZK. This is quite the change of topic, of changing direction. But since we're on Valorant, might as well talk about it. Listen, these guys are sweaty. These guys are sweating their dicks off every game, yet they couldn't actually manage to bring T1 a chip. They couldn't win any tournaments. They were really only good. This T1 VALORANT team was really only good at the very, very beginning. They made changes. They brought in Dazed. They brought in some other players. But it hasn't worked out. You know, with the core roster of Skadoodle, Brax, and AZK, this team has not worked out. They basically, the furthest they ever went was back in 2020, back in June 28th to be exact, in the T1 Nerd Street Gamers tournament. They basically played against TSM in the finals and lost. That was the furthest that this team has ever gone, and this is the furthest that roster that will ever go. I mean, they changed it up. They brought some people in. You know, they still mixed it up with Dazed and whatever. But the core roster, Skadoodle, you know, AZK and Brax is no longer a thing. It sucks. It sucks because a lot of people like this team for the personalities. A lot of people were only liking T1 because, to be honest with you, because of Brax, because of AZK, but mainly because of Brax, and because of Foods. This roster is now pretty much totally different. Nobody would have expected. There are fans of Skadoodle still in the roster, which is that's great. He's holding them strong. You know, Skadoodle has some dedicated fans. But I don't think anybody could have predicted Skadoodle will be the last one on this roster. I think people probably would have predicted Skadoodle to be one of the first people to leave because, you know, he was kind of tired of competing. Like in Counter-Strike, he was pretty much donezo. Like he was garbanzo beans, as Mizkif would say. He was out of there. Like there was no way that Skadoodle was going to play professional Counter-Strike anymore. After C9 won the major, he pretty much said he was having massive burnout issues. He was having massive issues playing the game, some dedication issues, basically. And now he goes over to Valorant, which is basically CSGO, but with ability usage and shit. This is, Jesus Christ, Dan, you're ruining people's eye sockets like this, man. I just don't see how Skadoodle is the last one on this roster still. Like, I think Skadoodle probably should retire. You know, out of just, like, he's had a legendary career. Skadoodle's been around since the beginning of Counter-Strike. I would say, I don't want to put him in the Hall of Good or anything like that, but I would say Skadoodle has had enough impact on the Counter-Strike scene and on esports, where I would probably put Skadoodle in some sort of esports Hall of Fame if possible, because for people that don't know, Skadoodle is one of the legends in NA Counter-Strike. He won a fucking major at the end of his career. He basically has, like, in my eyes, he has like the Michael Bisping career of Counter-Strike. If for people that don't know, Michael Bisping in the UFC basically was like the gatekeeper. You know, he was like the gatekeeper in the UFC, and then boom, he won the championship. You know, out of nowhere, randomly. And that was kind of the same thing with Cloud9 and with Skadoodle, because this team went up out of nowhere basically and won the fucking major at the end of his career. Like, that should have been the peak and should have been the end of Skadoodle's career, to be honest. That should have been, he should have retired out on top. But now, unfortunately for Skadoodle, it's kind of been a downhill trend, you know, and I would like to see him, you know, continue as a streamer. Like, he's still a great guy, still a great streamer, great personality. But unfortunately, it's just not cutting he's just not cutting it in Valorant right now. Maybe he can make the comeback, and maybe this new team could be good because they're adding Automatic, and because that you know, pre-existing synergy between Automatic and Skadoodle is there. But it's tough. It's tough because this team is losing two great players in AZK and Braxton. Yes, they've been underperforming recently, but that's still a pretty good duo compared to most people in Valorant right now. Like, they're committed to the game. They're playing full-time, hardcore. Brax has a lot of following, and it seems like people are saying that that's what T1 did, guys. It seems like T1 kind of pulled the maneuver where they were like, I'm going to sign Brax for his following almost, you know? Like, we're going to bring him on the team, bring some big-name individuals, make a big splash, and then try to get some people to attach to our team. And then once Brax has to leave, we still have some fans, you know? It seems like what happened almost. But I think overall, this team probably is going to do decent now. I don't know. The roster right now, as of right now, is Skadoodle, Dazed, Spider, and Automatic. And then they have Curry as like a stand-in / fill-in player, which is people aren't saying that he's officially on the roster yet. I think they might still do some tryouts and stuff like that. But this roster has not really been playing too well, to be honest with you. I mean, it's good they're making some like changes. Like, don't get me wrong, it's good they're making changes. But like, how good would this T1 team be? Like, how good will T1 be with this new roster? That's what we had a debate with last week when we talked about Automatic getting signed to T1. You know, how good is this roster going to be now they have Automatic, which was actually a fantastic player in Counter-Strike. He was still doing pretty damn solid in Counter-Strike. And now he's moving to Valorant full-time. Could this roster be good? Or is this roster just destined to failure, man? Is it just destined for failure? I mean, Valorant's still super early on. I think we're going to see new pros, you know, kind of make it towards the end. But to be honest with you, this T1 roster, guys, is not looking great for them. Oh, and Anthony's muted again, as per usual.
Oh, man.
As per goddamn usual. He's still muted. He's still goddamn muted. Oh my god.
It's never taken this long.
Nope, he's still muted. Oh my god, it's taking forever.
That's a broken mic.
That's a broken mic. I think his mic died. Oh my god. Oh no. Oh no. He's literally garbanzo beans, bro. He's dead. All right, we can move on though, boys. We can move on. We'll get him back eventually. You know, he'll be back eventually. Dr. Disrespect was actually spotted in the Super Bowl, guys. He was actually seen in the Super Bowl as a cardboard cutout. Now, apparently, according to Daniel, it's $100 for a actual cardboard cutout to have your face in the Super Bowl, because you also put your name into a draft, basically, or like into a lottery ticket to get a ticket to the Super Bowl next year. So, you know, it's kind of interesting because, to be honest with you, you know, it's good to see Dr. Disrespect see his face out there. You know, it's good to see one of Twitch's most hated out there on the field. You know what I'm saying? But it's kind of interesting because also, you know, Dr. Disrespect is seen once again, and sports books are also still investing into the esports scene, into esports personalities and the gaming personalities, and Dr. Disrespect is one of them. He recently signed a deal with FanDuel, and it seems like a bunch of big YouTubers and stuff like that are signing with sports books. So it would have been interesting if somebody like could advertise on their actual cardboard cutout. I'm surprised nobody did that. Like there probably was like rules and regulations. I think it's like the NBA.
I saw a lot of people do that.
Oh, they put sponsors on their shirt and stuff like that?
Yeah, there was like I really like to say this. There was like the Bud Light Night guy on there.
Oh,
he kept on showing up on camera.
Is he not like a?
And we said before, like, well, he's obviously like a sponsor or like a commercial, isn't he?
Yeah.
And I guess there was also like streamers there, which I don't know if he count as advertisements.
Hey, speaking of streamers, I mean, you saw that Nick Merckx, cosplay was running out in the field fucking naked too. So I mean, hey, there he is, dude. Dr. Disrespect is a unit. He looks small there. Like, why is he raised up against that woman to his right? Why is she taller than him? That guy, Dr. Disrespect, is a literal athlete.
Why doesn't he get to play football in front of him?
What do you mean?
Everyone else has to play football, but he just has his costume on.
I don't know. I don't know. It could have
Is
been a
that a fake?
Photoshop. Yeah.
Oh,
Have you
Is it
guys
fake? It
seen
could have been a
Doc with
Photoshop.
Was he
Disrespect
not
Was he
there, though?
actually there?
without the wig?
No,
Oh.
I think it's probably real. It's more than likely
Anthony
real.
is
Anthony,
still
is
dead?
he back?
Yeah.
Oh,
He's still
no.
dead. He's still dead. He's still fucking dead. He looks so
Rip
frustrated.
Anthony.
It's
well.
interesting. Oh,
What the hell?
Discord! Your Discord's
Oh.
fucked, Anthony. Your Discord's somehow fucked, bud.
I'm
Oh my god!
Oh, I can hear you now.
I can't
One
hear him.
moment.
What the fuck's happening?
I have to hear through vMix.
Oh, yeah. He said he's gonna disconnect and reconnect. All right, it's just us, Max. Basically, it's kind of interesting because he's back. Hello, Anthony. Are you there? Nope, still dead. Still dead for me. Oh, there he is. There he is. Oh my
There we
god,
go.
he's back.
This time for sure.
He's back, boys.
I don't know what
Welcome
the
back,
hell
Manic
Anthony. Welcome
Monday
back to the
today.
show.
I just had to restart Discord.
Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the fucking show, bud. You know I appreciate it. Welcome back.
Yeah.
I mean, you looked at this, Anthony. I mean, what do you think about Dr. Respect? He's a pretty big guy. He's a unit of a man. You know, he's pretty huge.
I mean,
Pretty huge individual.
He's huge. Dude is.
Does he have?
All I want to know is, have you seen him without the wig?
I have. Yes, he's old as shit though. He's like 30, like 9 or something.
But he's a
like-
good-looking fella.
I mean, yes, he is a good-looking fella. That's why Force and CD is a good meme, is because he's attracted all of the everybody, to I don't know. I'm gonna stop it there. Actually, I was gonna roast him a little bit. There's no reason to. The doc is great individual, great guy. And it's kind of interesting because we also saw Ninja and Nick Merckx also having cutouts too. And then also Nade Shot was in an advertisement, although it was pretty short. I thought it was gonna be a lot cooler than that. He was literally in a Rockstar commercial, right? For like literally a millisecond. It was just like he was barely in the fucking commercial, dude. He was not even like in there.
How much
actually,
money
like,
did he make off that second?
I hope a fucking shit ton because I mean, it was just kind of lame to be honest with you. I thought he would have like a full feature. I thought it was gonna be like 100 Thieves like advertisement or something like that. But I don't think any esports team has enough money for a literal Super Bowl advertisement. People were hating on that Moo Milk advertisement. What was the meme?
Oh,
we need to sing it. Yeah, what was it again? It's
Oh.
like moo, moo.
Wow.
What was it? Wow.
When was this commercial?
Wow.
I must have missed that one.
You missed it.
Milk
It was
for
good. Everybody was
humans or
hating it.
something.
What
Everybody
quarter
was
was
fucking
it?
hating it.
Would you say that was your favorite commercial?
I thought so. Wait, let me find out the whole phrase and we got to sing it together, Max. All right?
You're making me sing it.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
What was the whole thing again? We need to find it again. Fuck.
I missed the whole
What was
first
it?
quarter. What the hell did I miss?
It was
Here
like
you go,
moo.
Oatly. Here's some free advertisement.
All right, what was it? All right, you lead it off, Max. Lead it off. I'll follow you. All right.
I don't
Here we
have it down yet.
Fuck, man. It was something around the lines where like it was just a guy that was sitting in like a wheat field where he was like moo, moo, wow, or no, he was like wow, no cow. Like that was the whole thing, pretty much. That was the whole
No
fucking thing, dude.
cow.
No cow. Wow. I liked it. I thought it was good. Everybody fucking hated it.
That's the only commercial I felt was actually
I
fun to
don't remember-
watch.
Yeah, I don't remember any of them. Like there was some like cringy one. Like for the most part, they were all kind of trying too hard, and a little too cringy. And then this guy's just in a fucking wheat field, just like on a piano. He's like, wow, no cow. It was actually pretty
Hey,
good.
you don't need much production cost in that one. You don't have to
No,
pay off Nade Shot or Lil Nas or anything like that.
no. This is a hot take, though. I think people would disagree with us, Max. I think everybody, like I saw people were tweeting, like Courage tweeted about people. They were like, this commercial sucks. Like they were like, this commercial is the worst commercial I've fucking seen. And
That's where they're wrong.
they're fucking wrong.
I
They're
just need to
goddamn
look
wrong.
this
We're
up.
right. You're gonna hate it. I think
hate
you're gonna
oat
hate
milk,
it.
but maybe that'll actually make me buy it.
Yeah, man.
Maybe
Hey,
the commercial
listen,
worked.
no cow,
No
just
cow.
oats. They didn't mention the oat though. They just said, "Wow, no." They're just kind of hating on cows, bro. What the fuck? They got what are they got? Wait, apparently Daniel said. Apparently, Oatly's CEO wrote the song. No way. The actual CEO wrote the song, dude. Oh my fucking god. What a legend. What a goddamn legend. The CEO is like, hey guys, I have a good idea. How about we just do this for the commercial? And nobody can say no to him, you know? This is one of those situations
No.
where maybe the CEO taking charge worked out, you know?
He doesn't
People
need
are-
a marketing team.
No. Imagine if Dr. Disrespect was doing that, though. Imagine Dr. Disrespect was in the field and he's like, wow, No cow.
I'm,
I would
I'm
probably
so
would not
confused. I watched it and I just don't know what to say.
Yeah, that's the point. But if you remember it now, it's going to be ingrained in your head for at least the next week.
Yeah. Can you
At least the next
imagine
week.
if esports gets enough money one day to get a Super Bowl commercial?
What would we do? What would you guys do for a Super Bowl commercial? What would you guys do? We got to think about that. What would we do for a Super Bowl commercial? What would we do for a Super Bowl commercial for our show?
For our show.
Could we even do that? I don't even know. For anything. We could probably do anything. I don't know.
No.
I don't know. You just be in front of your mic and be like, "What's up, guys?"
Bro, there was some awkward commercials, bro. There was the one with the cuckold commercial, if you guys remember, like
What?
the
The
you don't
Alexa
remember?
one?
The Alexa
Oh
one
my
where they're
god,
basically
the Alexa one was so weird.
That was so weird, bro. It was just like basically it was this woman has a husband and she got Alexa, and Alexa was a handsome dude, like a very attractive guy, and she was it was like there was multiple cuts of her like slowly falling in love with Alexa because he was like this hot dude,
It was
you know?
Michael B. Jordan.
It was Michael B. Jordan. Yeah, it was Michael B. Jordan, and then she like eventually was like cucking her husband to a point where he was getting mad. You know, she was like literally in the bathtub with Michael B. Jordan, literally in the fucking bathtub, and it was just like this whole thing that was like, it was just so weird, bro. I was like, I felt uncomfortable watching the whole time. It was just kind of strange to me, dude. It was like, oh my god, this poor guy is just getting cucked by his wife. His wife, he was literally getting cheated on with a robot. Like, that's pretty
Maybe
fucking
that's the
depressing,
future.
bro. That's the future. Yeah, we get cheated
Oh,
on
it
by sex robots and shit, dude, or by Alexa. That could be. You know, maybe that's the future drama. Fucking, that's what they say about, you know, Soda Pop and his girlfriend. Soda Pop's girlfriend's literally a sex doll. You know, it's actually a sex doll. Yeah, and his dad knows about it. His dad actually wanted to borrow Soda Pop's girlfriend. You know.
Wow. I didn't want to know that.
Yeah, it's interesting. He gloats about it all the time. He's like, yeah, me and my girlfriend, you know, and this is literally a fucking sex doll. It's great. It's fantastic. I love Soda Poppin' and his dad, dude. I don't know. What would we do for our commercial for the Super Bowl? That's what we need to think about. You know, what would we do? Why don't we just do? Would they allow it where you could just like be a streaker? You know, like where you could just be a. That would be my idea. So what I would do is we would go out to like a giant open field, like a giant football field, like a giant stadium. That's what the setting would be, like a big stadium, lots of fans or whatever. And then you have like me, for example, or like all of us, for example, we fucking strip naked, and then we run across the field, and then as a censor bar, it just says the Dusttin Bowerman Show as the censor bar, you know, just like running across the field, fucking.
We each get our own word.
Yeah. Just running around
Right.
Dusttin Bowerman and then show or something like that. Yeah.
Or
That'd be
maybe
pretty fun.
you can use your sex appeal and use like the so-called Twitch meta.
Oh yeah. Well, no, we
yeah.
don't leak that yet. We have a shirt idea coming out soon. You know, the Twitch meta idea is still in production. But yeah, we could just flash our, you know, whatever on the field. All right, one more topic, guys. I'll probably take the reign of this before we get our guests on the show. Shax was confirmed to have joined the London Spitfires. Shax is officially on the roster after Nuki and the London Spitfires made a tweet. Basically, they said they were in the tweet they were announcing their like a camp and stuff like that for London Spitfires. They're doing a lot and stuff. That's great, cool, and whatever. But we mentioned how, if you guys remember, weeks ago, I don't know, it was not last week, I think it was the week before that, I think 2 weeks ago. I could be wrong, I don't even remember the times of their show. Basically, we announced that Kai was joining the Atlanta Reign. Unofficially, it's not announced just yet, but it is pretty much confirmed. We also said that it was rumored, it was not 100%, but it was rumored that Shax was joining the London Spitfires. And now it's true. Now Shax is on the London Spitfires. People were like, oh, why are you talking about rumors if they're not true? Well, it's like, they're probably fucking true. And to be honest, that's what our show is. You know, if you're not going to come here for 100% accurate results all the time, okay? Listen, we fuck up a lot, okay? That's what our show is. We fuck up a shit ton, you know? We get haters all the time. We get people mad at us all the time. But guess what? We keep fucking going. You know what I'm saying? Because this shit's South Park. You know, we come up with shit the day before, the day of. You know, we find this shit for you guys. Wrong or not, we'll try to fact check if we can, you know, but for the most part, we try to get shit right. You know what I'm saying? We try to get shit right. We try to report it right. And in this situation, we were 110% right because Shax is joining the London Spitfires. And I think this is a good pickup for them. To be honest with you, I think this is a fantastic pickup for them. The guy we're going to have later, Gunba, was actually the coach for Shax later. I think he said that he hopes these guys finds teams because, to be honest with you, they should have. Like, Shax, so far, the people who should have found teams have found teams. Not officially for Kai just yet, but they have found teams. For example, Kai is now on the Atlanta Reign, not just yet, but Shax is on the London Spitfires. And the only person that I think actually deserves another team, or should be 100% on an Overwatch League roster, is Lastro. I think Lastro has too much potential upside to pass on. I think he had a fantastic year last year. People are kind of underrating him. I think it was like, to be honest with you, it was mainly when Tracer wasn't meta, it was like the Kai / Lastro show for the London Spitfires Overwatch League team. Or not for the LA Valiant Overwatch League team. It was like literally those two guys were fucking carrying the shit of the roster. Like hardcore. Not to say anybody on the roster was like directly bad, but they were doing so goddamn well. And I hope Lastro finds a team. I think these, like, Kai and Shax finding a team is great and all, but if Lastro doesn't find a team, that's kind of fucking disingenuous and kind of sad, because that guy should find a roster. I think he was fantastic, great. He made so much impact. You saw whenever he was benched, it was just fucking to shit for them, basically. It was terrible. It was an awful decision. So honestly, like, those three players probably should find a team. Or should have found a team. I think Shax joining this roster will probably move London Spitfires up a place for me. Because Shax is a fucking great player. Like, Shax is amazing, fantastic player. And now London Spitfires actually has like a decent roster. I think we were concerned. We were concerned pretty heavily, to be honest, about the DPS lineup for London Spitfires. I think the only really like talented, insanely good DPS player that undoubtedly you can say was what's his name? Fucking Sparker. Was Sparker, I think, or whatever, on the roster. Or I think that's his name. What am I need to look this up real quick. Fucking hell. I can't believe I forget. Yeah, Sparker. I can't believe I forgot that for a second. But now it's the DPS duo of Shax and Sparker is the actual roster, and that's pretty good. They fill a lot of stuff. They cover a lot of stuff, and to be honest, you can get carried by a good DPS duo. You can get wins with a good DPS duo. People proved that last year. You know, you don't have to be an overall great roster. If you literally just if you focus on your DPSs, if you have good DPSs, you could actually carry a team in the Overwatch League. But now the roster is Blase, Ripa, Kelix, Hottie, Molf1G, Hybrid, and now Shax and Sparker. So they have a 7-man roster pretty much now. And that, that's pretty good. That's a good enough roster, I think, to get, top 8, maybe top 9 in the West. I think it might do better than that as expectations, but I still have concerns about this team, bro. People will hype up the British Hurricanes, for example, like crazy. But guys, you don't understand. People like EU players have been moving to NA contenders for a while. Like the best EU players were playing in NA contenders for a while. And it stinks because people were like, Europe is like a dead scene. Because to be honest with you, it's not necessarily a dead scene because there's still fantastic players in Europe. This is not in any regard hating on Europe. Like Europeans are arguably better than NA. In Overwatch. And there's a lot of really talented European players, okay? However, the European contender scene is absolutely fucking dead, and British Hurricanes was basically just mopping the floor with people with Sparker for literally like the upwards of 6 months, I think, just because everybody was so fucking dog shit, Maybe they weren't. Maybe their dominance was actually underestimated by me, and they'll probably play well. This is not anything, nothing to rag on the British Hurricanes, because they could be a good team. They could absolutely be a good team. And so could all of their players on the London Spitfires. I'm not counting them out or anything like that. I think just we rank them lower than most people probably would. But I probably still would move them up because of this pickup, because Shax is a fantastic player. I think Shax is probably top 5 Tracer that I played against last year specifically, just because of his impact. I'm not going to state people's names because I always forget. Listen, I always forget people's names in the Overwatch League, like who we're talking about, Like, I think last time I forgot to mention somebody, Fearless, Mag, or whatever, in like my top main tanks. But, like, I just forget their names, okay? They're still great players. They're still fantastic players, okay? But Shax is probably top 5, top 6 Tracer in the West. Might be even better than that in terms of his impact. Some games, Shax would just fucking dominate. Like, Shax would actually just roll myself and Edison, like, just the whole lobby, and it would just be fucking hard. Like, there were times where he just took over the damn server, And that's just how it is. Like, Shax is that good of a Tracer player. I'd argue Sharp is also a really talented Tracer player. It's just, unfortunately, probably won't find a lineup this year. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll find a team. But like, to be honest with you, I think this is a good pickup for London Spitfires. I think it's fantastic for them. I hope they have some success. I think they'll find success maybe. But like we talked about it, like I don't think London Spitfires is that well rounded of a team. You know, maybe they'll probably perform better than my expectations. But to be honest with you, the parity in Overwatch League is so fucking tough, man. Like, there's so many good teams. Like myself and Mr. X talked about this the other day. Last Friday, we were like, the parity in Overwatch League and in COD League and in these esports right now, it's so fucking hard. There's so many good players, bro. There's so many good players in the Overwatch League, and even if there are budget teams, quote unquote, even if there are budget teams, that's what's happening. These budget teams, the London Spitfire, the Paris Eternal, the I don't know who else we put as a budget team, Vancouver Titans. Like, those are still solid teams for being budget teams because there's so many. Boston Uprising, they have soon now. Like, there's enough budget teams in Overwatch League now that you have to, if you're a good player, you kind of have to join one of these budget teams to be in the Overwatch League now. Like, that's just how it is. So, you know, these rosters, like London Spitfires, might, like, actually do well this year, and I'm probably underrating them. Let's get our guest in here, guys. Our guest today is a individual who just coached a team. We'll try to get him in as soon as possible, but a team in Valorant, actually, and has overall been a very successful coach in esports. So our guest today is a man who coached a successful Overwatch League team and now a successful Valorant team, an individual whose Wikipedia page looks like a terrible mugshot. Gunba!
Let's go, Gunba! How's it going?
What's up, Gunba?
Happy to be here.
Oh my god, you have quite the beard, bro. Holy shit.
COVID, yep. Haven't been outside in months.
You can shave your damn beard, though, Gunba. What the fuck, man?
What's the point? Who's going to see it?
Well, right now, obviously. It is pretty magnificent. I'm not going to lie. I would not be able to grow a beard that good. I got to be real. That's a fucking good
I wish it was a
beard.
stylistic choice, but it's just not. Yeah, I just can't be bothered.
You're just like, oh, fuck, man. I just got to look. I gotta rock the homeless look until I get a fucking haircut.
Pretty much. Yeah.
How you doing, bro? How you doing? It's good to have you here.
Exhausted. Yeah, it's been a long month.
Oh, yeah. How long do you guys, like, practice or, like, study VODs and stuff like that every day for the past, like, months, right?
I think we've had, in the past, since New Year's, we've had about 4 days off. So every single day has been like 8 to 10 hours.
Oh my god!
In the past 14 days, we haven't had a single day off because we played both of the grand finals. So we played every single possible match, straight into practice for the next set of matches, and then again played another set of matches. So yeah, it's been exhausting. Honestly, it's been absolutely horrendous. But in the end, we got pretty good results. So.
What's the thing that you've had to do for the Immortals Valorant roster to, like, push them over to the top to have you guys succeed? Like, what are you doing specifically as a coach, I guess? Because, you know, in other games, people don't see the impact as coaches. You know, in Counter-Strike, for example, people are like, you know, what do coaches do in Counter-Strike or whatever? Like, people are like, oh, Zonic's a leader. Oh, I don't know. Who was another coach in Counter-Strike? Fucking Zeus or whatever. Zeus is a strategic person, you know? Can you actually, is there tangible things that you're doing that you can explain that coaches do in Valorant right now?
Yeah, sure. I think you raise a good point. Like, I couldn't name Counter-Strike coaches either, right? It's just not something people talk about in Counter-Strike. It's not a big part of the culture. A big part of what we've done is bring something that I think Overwatch League had with coaches to Valorant and trying to teach people who have that CS background kind of how to be professionals and how to put in the work and how to approach matches and how to prepare and, like, how to hold themselves to, like, a higher expectation. So that's been a big challenge just culturally, I think. I think, you know, people that come from Counter-Strike don't have the expectation that someone who doesn't play the game can tell them how to play the game better, right? I think that's a foreign concept. Yeah. And I get why, right? If you look up to the pros in your scene and you're looking at people at the top of Counter-Strike, they don't have coaches a lot of the time, right? So why would you need one? I think that's just because CS is an old scene, you know, at the end of the day. But as for what coaches do, well, I don't talk about coaches in general because I think that other teams might not have a coach, or their coach might be more of a manager or whatever. But specifically for our team, it's the whole thing. You know, it's like, who's on the roster? You know, if I think someone's not good, we talk about it, me and Packing, and we can cut them. We can talk to them. We can talk to them about their problems. It's strategy. It's like, you know, like, how are we playing on the maps? You know, we talk to the players through that. We obviously involve them in that process. Match prep is like 2 hours in the morning, like 9 a.m. in the morning. We get up and we watch every single VOD of every opponent we play. And we come out with notes and we talk to the players about how we adapt to opponents and scheduling, like just booking scrims, you know, even like more organizational stuff like budgeting stuff with Mike and, you know, director of esports. So it's really everything. Like, me and Packing just work on literally everything, and we just do everything together. And there's no job title that really describes what we do, to be honest. So
yeah, you guys are like co-coaches pretty much, like in the end of the day, right?
pretty much,
And
yeah.
well, and with your guys' team on Valorant specifically, and you mentioned how, you know, in Counter-Strike, you can't really name too many of the coaches, or at least some of the best coaches in Counter-Strike besides maybe Zonic and Zeus or whatever.
Yep.
When you look at, you know, Valorant, do people have egos? Like, I can't imagine your team has many egos, but I feel like at least the Counter-Strike people, like you mentioned, you're teaching them how to be professionals. Is part of being a coach managing those egos, or because you guys have a lot of up-and-coming talent on Valorant? Like, to be honest, I think a lot of your players were looked at as like, holy shit, where did these guys fucking come from? They just absolutely popped off in this tournament over the weekend. Do you think that is managing egos, or is your team just no egos, egoless team?
I mean, I think realistically, we probably have as many egos as any other team, right? That's something we have to manage.
Yeah.
It's hard to say how they would have turned out had they not worked with us, right? So I can't really speculate on like what kind of person they would have become otherwise. Like, you know, we got in, they're young, you know, like a lot of our players. We have the youngest team in Valorant, I think, at the pro level. So
Holy shit.
we have like a 17-year-old, 19-year-old. I think 2 of our players just turned 20. You know, it's basically like an Overwatch League team. So yeah, managing egos is a big part of it. I think that it goes further than that though, because I think when you say the word ego, you imagine that you're talking about like people being, you know, combative, or people being thinking they're always right, or these kind of traits. But actually, I think egos come in the worst when you look at the consistency level of some of these teams, right? Like, yeah, I'm sure you're familiar with the qualifier. Like big number like top 4 teams didn't qualify for the tournament, right?
Yeah.
How does that happen? Like how do teams like TSM, like 100 Thieves, FaZe, you know, you go on the list. Like, you know, some teams more justifiably, C9 had to play us, obviously. So some teams had bad brackets, or like they had seeding that was a bit unfair. But how does that happen? I think the only explanation is that these people don't take their opponent seriously. Like, I can tell you for a fact, if we were playing Carpe Noctem in the bracket, the team that eventually ends up knocking out, I think, 100 Thieves, we're watching their VODs. We're taking them 100% seriously. Like, we go into that match and we're like, we could lose this. Like, that's our mentality straight away. It's like, we could absolutely lose this. Let's do everything we can not to lose. And if we're like 10 up in the map and we're winning easily, okay, we can take a break and like, okay, we're gonna win. But like, we don't go into the match with assumptions, I think, and that's the biggest thing about egos. I think that we help the players avoid, right? Like, we've never been upset in a qualifier ever. Like, the only team we've ever lost to before qualifying was XSET, and they're a good team, and we shouldn't have lost. But compared to other teams, our consistency level is unmatched, and I think that is because we manage egos. Like, that's what matters. Yeah.
So you mentioned how, well, like, and specifically with your guys' team and with other teams as well, like, do you think that most teams right now in Valorant are like, because you mentioned how you guys were preparing, you guys like watch a lot of VODs, you guys have a lot of set strategies and stuff like that. Do you think most teams in Valorant, at least even at the professional level, are like kind of really puggy still? Like, do you think there's a pug mentality still, or is that not as
It's
impactful
tough.
in like the top 4 or whatever?
The problem is that I think, like, when people say pug mentality, this has been a big topic recently, right? It's like, people say we're a puggy team. People say like LG is a puggy team. I think XSET gets that a lot. All the teams that did well in the qualifier, it turns out. I think people see that as maybe an accident, or like we just didn't put structure in place and we just signed a bunch of people who shoot people in the head and they did their job. And it's like, it's couldn't be further from the truth, right? Like, every opponent we play, we're preparing. Like, we watch all of their VODs. We look at every single like default they have. We look for tells, you know, if someone puts a smoke in the same place when they're going to a certain site or anything like that. There's a lot of strategy. We just focus it more on the fundamentals, you know, the teamwork, making sure we're trading, making sure people are communicating, making sure we're like countering the other team. The structure is just in a different place. And I think the thing that people, especially that came from CS, have tried to put in place and believe is sort of the like perfection of the game is that you have all these perfect setups with utility and like grenades in this place and slows here, and I don't think it matters. I don't think that's the priority, right? So like, I guess to answer your question, like, yeah, there's a lot of puggy teams, but I think they're puggy in the same way that Overwatch League teams are puggy, right? I think, you know, you played an Overwatch League team, like, you don't typically talk about rollouts a lot, right? You talk about fundamentals. You talk about how you're dealing with specific heroes. You talk about like what positions you want to play. You know, you have more of an organic teamwork, I think, in Overwatch, and to us that has been the better strategy, especially for getting good quickly, like for taking players that don't have much experience and bringing them into a team environment. Like, one of the things we've done every single time we've brought in a new player or we've had like a sub, you know, we've qualified for multiple tournaments with subs, right? Like, just with no practice. On the day, like, someone's computer blew up or there was a tornado or whatever. Like, it's happened like 4 times. We're just not lucky, I guess. But
It's a tornado? Did that actually happen?
No, there was a fire.
Oh, okay.
There was the electricity went out. There was an
Holy
ER
shit.
emergency, and then in this qualifier, Chemical's computer died literally on the morning, like right before the
Oh
one.
my god.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
And we still made both grand finals, right? Like, there's no argument there. Like, we find a way to make it work, and I think the truth is, to do that, we just tell people to do what they want. Every time we trial a player, every time we get a sub, we're just like, do whatever you want. Just be, do something that you feel good about.
You guys.
Yeah, like, just play to your strengths, and like, we find a way to enable that, right? And that's not an accident, and it's not random. Like, otherwise, a lot of teams would do it, right? So, I definitely think teams like us and LG deserve more credit for just focusing on the right things that aren't necessarily like super strategic stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, you guys do, like, generally the rep isn't that good for Puggy. At least it seems like it's only, like you mentioned, how some of these teams that didn't qualify kind of have that ego, almost, where like some of them are like, oh, this is a Puggy team, that's our excuse why we lost, and that's kind of like, didn't Sentinels kind of make that excuse to some degree, and when they lost you guys in the qualifiers, they're like, oh, we got out pugged or whatever, we'll put Sinatraa on Reyna. And we'll make it work out or whatever. Do you think that, like, this ego is kind of why teams are looking at you in that way? Like, you guys are that Puggy. It's not because you guys don't have set strategies. It's just because of the ego almost, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like when you're not from Counter-Strike, you're in the minority, right? And I think there's a cultural expectation there that if you're from that scene, that you have all this strategy, and you have like these defaults, and you have these set plays, and that's the correct way to play the game. And that, to me, is an assumption. That's something people have assumed. That's not something that's been proven by any measure. And I think to speak on the Shazam thing, I mean, that's a great example, right? Like, it's such a reductive argument to say that your opponents don't have strategy, or your opponents just walk through smokes randomly and they just win somehow. And it's just like, really? Like, we have players that are that good? Like, they don't have to think. They can just peek anybody and win every time? Like, I wish, like, I wish it was that simple. But, and I think it's really a matter of perspective. If you look at that situation, you think to yourself, like, how else could we frame that argument? It's like, Sentinels, it could be argued that they had their players on the wrong roles and they're playing the game in the wrong way. So, like, if we're going to talk about strategy, I think that's probably the argument that I'd go with. It's like, you have a player like Sinatraa, who is, I think we're all familiar with Sinatraa. He's an exceptional talent.
He's a beast.
Yeah, I borderline say he's a genius in the game, right? Like, he's a really creative player who is absolutely amazing in that environment, when he can, like, do whatever he wants and come up with plays every round and, like, react to the enemy team. And they had him on Sova, like, they had him in this role where he couldn't do that, and then they changed that, and now they're succeeding again. And it's like, is that on us, or is that on them? Like, we didn't make that mistake. Like, we knew what roles to put our players in the first place. We knew what the meta was. We knew it was effective. And we grinded 6 maps a day, every day, to make that work. So I know that when Shazam said those things, he was angry that they lost, that they weren't doing as well as they hoped. So that's fine, but it is a reductive argument, and I don't think we should dismiss teams that are winning for any reason. Like, at the end of the day, if you show up and you win the match, then you did the right things. Like, that doesn't have to be an accident. You don't have to argue that other teams don't have agency or don't know what they're doing. It's like, if teams that don't know what they're doing are beating you, it's like, well, do you know what you're doing? Like, at the end of the day, it's like, I mean, they won at the end of the day, and they adapted, and like, especially credit to Sinatraa. He's a really good player, and he made that work, I think. And I'm glad they're doing well in the end. I think I've always thought they're the best team in NA, but I think that rant was misplaced. Plus, he addressed, like, I think, coaching stuff. If you remember that stuff.
I actually didn't hear that part. What did he say? Do you remember? Or
He said something like, because everyone's complaining that they don't have a coach, right? Like, Sentinels have a lot of fans. They're pretty rabid.
Why
don't you get a coach who's going to do all your strategy for you? And I think Shazam said something to the extent of, like, well, like, whatever. A coach is, was a coach going to give us all the strategy and fix all the problems and tell us how to do everything? Like, who is this magical person? It's like, a coach just has to add value, right? Like, if you hold people accountable and you help people do the right thing in game, and you criticize people and hold people responsible for, like, how they talk to their teammates, and you help them prepare for matches, it goes a long way to allowing players to think about other things, right? So it's not about finding the magical person. I think that argument was also probably not good. But again, he was upset, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's tough to see the value in coaches, at least because in Overwatch League, I mean, we can only really see that, like, for example, Krusty or whatever. Like, Krusty's been a fantastic coach, great coach for people that don't know from the Valorant scene. The guy's pretty much one of the goats of Overwatch at this point, just because he's won 2 chips or whatever. And like you said, if at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how unprepared you are or whatever, if you still win the game, you're the better team, right? And I think in Counter-Strike, those players, like you mentioned, don't have that exact understanding that, we need a coach, it helps alleviate time, it helps fix things. And it seems like, Sinatra's kind of like their player coach to some degree, or it's like a very internal situation almost. But, you know, I think by the time, you know, a year or 2 years pass, like I can't imagine any Valorant team won't have a coach, right? Like you need a coach in these games, and people don't have that mentality, I guess, right?
I mean, especially if franchising becomes a thing, right? If that's the way it goes, like, of course, there's going to be 3 or 4 coaches, right? Just like LCS, just like Overwatch League. It's inevitable. I think we're seeing that now. I think teams are starting to realize that you should let coaches build teams, not let players find coaches. Because what seems to happen, especially with these teams that are more traditional, is that the players get a coach, and if they don't like the coach, they kick the coach. Whereas I think what happens in Overwatch League is exactly the opposite, right? Like a coach builds the roster, and if a coach has a problem with the player, that player is cut a lot of the time. Not always, but it's more that relationship than the other way around, I think. And I
the
think
coach gets a lot of the blame.
Yeah, exactly. You get the credit, you get the blame, and you get to make the decisions, and you're responsible for the outcome. Like, why would letting random 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds with like no life experience build teams work? Like, why would you expect that to work? And why would you expect people that are good at shooting people in a video game to be good at building teams? I mean, these things just don't make sense at the end of the day. I think people are starting to realize that. I think that Cloud9 did that recently. They put a Korean guy in charge of coaching their team, just like some guy from Cloud9 Korea. They've never looked better, honestly. Like, they almost beat us. They're 1 round away from beating us, like, even with 10s gone, like their best player gone off the roster, they look better immediately. I think T1 today has announced, they cut some players, and they have a coach that probably is responsible for doing that. So I think things are moving in that direction, and I hope that we're a reason why. I hope that people look at our success and think like, wow, okay, like coaches can actually make a big difference.
Yeah, because it's not like you're hiring an average Joe, right? It's not like you're just like, I think from Shazam's point, he's like, oh, I'm just hiring this guy that's shit at Valorant or whatever, right?
Exactly,
like, why would I be hiring this plant player? But it's like, the best coaches won't be good at the game. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. And maybe they will be, maybe there's like a really great Valorant player that's a good coach too. But I mean, it's not a common occurrence where you see a top pro also be a top coach, right? Because it's 2 different skill sets. Like you mentioned, you can't be good at shooting and good at coaching. Like, that's 2 entirely different things.
It's very
right?
rare.
Yeah.
I was actually a player, before I became a coach. So that helped a lot for Overwatch, but and through that I learned to coach, right? So I got the opportunity. I'm lucky. And I think people in Counter-Strike didn't have that. If you're a Counter-Strike coach, like, what's your reference point? You don't have a Krusty or someone like that gets credit and like motivates you to be better. And like, I've played a lot of matches against Krusty, from a coaching standpoint. Like, I've had that opportunity, and I've worked with, Packing 10 and Moon and like these types of coaches. So I don't blame the CS community in a way. Like, I just don't think they had the reference point, right? I think Korean coaching style is something that helped a lot, right? Like, they're very serious about that. And I think that's why Overwatch is the way it is.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because when you look at like the Counter-Strike players in Valorant and stuff like that, they haven't had to compete against, the Koreans, It's like in Overwatch that we witnessed the entire takeover. Everybody could see it coming. You see it in League of Legends.
Consistent.
Yeah, it always happens. It's inevitable. You're going to be fucking taken over by Koreans. I don't know about in Valorant. I think people are... It's interesting because there's some interesting strategies over there. I watched fucking VCT last night in Korea, and there was a 5 Odin strat or whatever on I don't remember what map it was, but there's some interesting strategies going over in fucking Korea. Like, they're innovators. Like, you have to admit, even though their scene isn't necessarily as big as the NA scene, it seems like they're innovating at a much higher rate, right?
I think I agree with you. I think that's something they put a lot of focus in, and so does EU as well. I personally don't think Korea is going to succeed in this game. And I'm super Korean biased. I've worked with like countless Korean players and coaches. Yeah, of course. 70% of the Overwatch League is Korean or Chinese, right? Like, English is not the first language of the Overwatch League anymore, which is one of the reasons I left, honestly. Like, how do you compete with people like Krusty that speak 2 languages? And you don't.
You can't.
You can't speak with over half of the players in the league. You're not going to be
I think Sephi said that same thing.
Yeah. I saw that coming like 9 months ago. I just quit. I was just like, okay, Valorant Scout, I'm going to that. But to be fair, like, someone did the math on how many players there must be in Korea for the Radiant cutoff to be where it is. It's kind of like top 500 in Overwatch. And it's something like 200,000 people versus like 1.5 million players in NA and like 2.3 in Europe or something. So right now, I think the Korean scene is just too small to produce enough talent to compete meaningfully. It doesn't mean that they don't have good ideas. That's always something I look at, but I don't think Koreans will take over this game. Not from a lack of talent, just from a lack of players, right? Like, they could definitely play tac shooters, obviously, but
they're all playing Crossfire or something else, probably.
Not
or just
League, 100% League,
Yeah, they might as well. I mean, but it's like Valorant still has time to improve. But like, okay, so I had a question for you specifically, Gunba, because You moved over. Did you move from the SEA region? You're from Australia, right? Not from New Zealand. So you moved over. Did you move over from Australia to America, like immediately, or did you get picked up to Overwatch League while you were in Australia?
While I was in Australia. So the backstory there is like, I'm sure you were playing Overwatch at this time. I don't know if you remember when the Overwatch League first started happening. It was at the I think second World Cup. I think everyone was getting signed to these teams, and there was Overwatch League tryouts, and I was a player at that BlizzCon, like that second BlizzCon.
I remember.
And I did really well. Like people on Twitter noticed me. We played Team Canada. I think it was like within one fight of Australia eliminating Canada from BlizzCon. I was a really good Zen. I was like top 20 on the Korean ladder. I was also a flex support player. And I didn't get a single Overwatch League tryout, so I just said that day, like, I'm going to become a coach because this is ridiculous. Like, it's not fair, right? Like, the system isn't fair. Like, you don't get tryouts because you're either too old or you're Australian or whatever the problem is, right?
Both of them were working against you.
Yeah, so I just made some content on YouTube, and Cuddles from Valiant reached out to me, and they signed me that year. I got into the very first season of the Overwatch League and coached the first matches, and I was there from day one. So I got pretty lucky, I guess.
So do you think it would have helped you if you moved over from Australia to like NA? Like, for example, Custa did that, right? Custa moved over from Australia to America to kind of like, take a risk or whatever.
Before having anything like lined up, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually the reason Custa got added to Valiant, by the way. I was actually
really?
Yeah. I thought we needed like a better main support. We had Burbo at that time, and we had Kariv and Unco at that time, so it was like, why do we need to?
He was on Dallas Fuel, right, at the time or something like that?
Yeah.
Custa was?
Yeah, I remember we made that trade, and people were just like, why did you do that? Like, why? What? Like, Unco for Custa? Are you guys stupid? And then we won stage 4, so, I mean, jokes on them, I guess. But
it's hard because you can't see that transition, I suppose. Like, because he made that transition from flex support to main support, right? Yep. So it's like, how are you supposed to predict that somebody could? And you could tell, like, I guess you guys could tell that he was, more of that, strategic, more of that main support role, anyways, that you guys kind of transferred him over to.
We wanted a leader in that role, and he is a leader, so that's honestly the main reason. It happened to be a Mercy meta for most of that year, which is his strength as well. He didn't have to play Lucio at all, so good luck there, I guess, with the balancing. But I think, it would have helped if I'd moved over to America first. But, like, I think the best people in esports often are the people with a plan B, right? If you're an intelligent person, you should have a plan B in your life. Like, you shouldn't just go into esports with nothing and be like, this is it, I'm going to make it. Because it's like, how many people don't make it? Like 99%, right? So I was a software engineer at the time, and I quit to play Overwatch professionally when I had like a contract in Taiwan. So by the time Overwatch League came around, like, I didn't really have much to lose. Like, I was either going to do that or go back to programming. But I don't think I'm the kind of person who would have just moved, just to go pro, right? Like, especially because I was like 25 at the time, right?
Yeah, that's a big risk. That's a big risk at 25 for sure. Like, it's and it seems like in Valorant, have you guys taken that like a similar approach to, like, for example, Custa, when you brought him over from Dallas Field? Have you guys taken, like, people say Packing 10 and you are like some of the best like scouters in esports in general, at least in Overwatch and in now Valorant, and I don't think many people get that reputation. Do you guys actually think that is your strength, like scouting, up and coming talent and new talent?
Yes and no. I mean, I think objectively, yes. Like, we're good at scouting. I mean, how could anyone say otherwise, right? How could we say otherwise at this point? Like, we find a lot of good players, and other teams find a lot of not good players, and we spend less money and we get better players. I mean, of course, we're good at scouting, right? I do think it understates that the thing we're best at is developing players, though. Like, every single player who plays for our team looks good, and that doesn't necessarily translate when they leave the team, right? And we've seen that with players like Cola on NRG. Like, he was a great player for us, went to NRG. Their system was different. I'm not familiar with it, but didn't perform as well, right? Asner and Dicey, great examples, right? Like, with us, they were like the star players on our team, and now in 100 Thieves, they don't look so good. It's like, I think people underrate like how good we are at making people play together and making people put in the hours and like holding them accountable and a million different things to different situations. But so I agree that
it's like forcing out that it's like forcing out that extra 5% is what you're saying that you do. Like, pretty much, you're not going to make people godlike necessarily. Like, you can't change how good a player is, but you can kind of squeeze that extra effort out of people, basically, right?
Yeah, and we do. Yeah, we make them work super hard, and we work super hard, and we set the example, and we try to infect them with that. We try to infect them with that work ethic and that desire to win. Like, I'll tell you right now. We came a long way, and we got to the grand finals, and by some measure, we could be the second best team in America, right? I think that's super debatable, but for a roster like ours to accomplish that, I think most people would be over the moon, and I'm angry that we lost. Like that's what I felt when we lost to Sentinels. I felt anger, like, and frustration that we failed. That's how I felt, and I think you have to have that desire to win, right? Like you have to want to be the best. So we try to infect the players with that.
Well, now you guys are 1-1 with Sentinels in terms of the individual matchup, right? Well, at least with this roster.
The first one was a seeding match, but yeah, I guess technically, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, technically, out of matches you guys have played one. I mean, it wasn't a championship, obviously. Do you think a rematch is like bound to happen in the finals again, like another finals Sentinels versus Immortals?
I mean, bound to happen is a strong word. There's a lot of there's like 30 different orgs in Valorant right now. It's like the start of Overwatch, right?
Oh yeah.
So a lot of teams can come out of nowhere and succeed. And we could go through troubles or whatever. Who knows? But we're going to work super hard. We're going to scrim pretty much every day from not tomorrow, but the next day until the tournament. Like every single day, no breaks. So I hope we can make it happen. Like
this is a 1-day break, right? You literally only took today off, and that's it.
2 days. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We made the grand final. I mean, yeah, we had to reward them, right? We did promise them if they made the grand final, 2 days off, otherwise 1 day off, and we made the grand final. So to be fair, though, I mean, I don't know, like the way we played in the match, I think was kind of sad. It's like we were super exhausted and like we didn't play with any confidence, and we just looked like absolute dog shit. And it's so sad to end that way, like especially when people thought we'd win and we had like a map advantage and a ban advantage. But it is what it is. It takes more than that to beat Sinatraa at the end of the day, right? Like, I told my players after the match, I'm like, that's what a competitor looks like, right? That's what someone looks like who knows how to win at the end of the day. And like, I mean, the whole Sentinels team came back and managed to win. So,
yeah, because you have to. I mean, people underestimate how tired you can get in these tournament settings and stuff like that, especially in Valorant. Because I mean, that you guys are playing an entire tournament. We don't have to do that really in Overwatch anymore. You don't have to really do those tournament settings, but tournaments are fucking exhausting, right? I mean, you have to be. Because I don't know how many matches did you guys have to play in 1 day? Was it only 2 max or was it 1 max always for the
we never
weekend?
lost, so we always played 1. But teams that lost, like Sentinels, would have been playing 2 almost every day, right? Like so.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
that
we're
is
fortunate.
A lot of fucking
but tournaments are brutal, right? Like they're absolutely brutal. Yeah. They're horrendous. Like I hope franchising's a thing. I hope it happens soon. Because Christ, like it's bad. Like. Plus, the way the tournaments are structured makes practice really difficult because you play like a qualifier, and then like if you don't make it through that qualifier, you have to play again in like 3 days, and it's like you have to have practice booked. But like, what if you qualified? You cancel your practice, and it's all like so close together, It's rough. It's really rough. But yeah,
luckily there's a lot of teams in Valorant though, so at least you can like if you have to cancel, I'm sure that people would just like find a scrim immediately or whatever. Well, I had a question for you, Gunba, too, because myself and Sideshow talked about this like last week. We were wondering how many, like, why Overwatch players. I mean, you have Sinatraa. You have, I mean, Zombs isn't playing that bad. Zombs is there. There's some other, like, Overwatch pros that have made it almost in the pro scene. But why is it that, I think Sideshow talked about it, like, Overwatch players' utility usage and stuff like that just isn't as good as other people's? And you guys don't even have any Overwatch players on your roster, right? Like, your roster's all, are they, like, former Overwatch players at all? Any of them on the roster? I don't think so, right?
Yeah. So we have JC, who was a Cranker player, but also a top 500 Overwatch player. I think Chemicals on the current roster was also a top 500 Overwatch player. So they weren't pros, but I guess technically you call them Overwatch players. Not really.
It's like Booga in like Fortnite and how he's done. Like he wasn't a good Overwatch player necessarily, but I
mean, maybe they weren't trying to be good at Overwatch either. Who knows? They were young.
Yeah,
they're probably like 15. I mean, like
true. It's hard. I mean, people like at least I don't know if you're in a similar perspective as me, but when Overwatch came out, I was like, okay, I'm gonna play this game professionally, like 100%. Just going pro in it. And I think like overall, it's easier to go pro in a new game like Valor or whatever because you don't have to catch up, right? I mean, sure you have to catch up to what the CS players do in terms of game sense or whatever, since it is kind of a similar game. But you still like going pro in a new game like this offers opportunity. And I think people have mentioned how. Sideshow mentioned how, like we mentioned, Overwatch players, at least the professional ones, haven't translated that well into Valorant. Why do you think that is? Because I mean, your coaching style is translated.
Yeah, I think that's because Overwatch coaching is good and CS coaching is bad, and that's not CS's fault. Right? They just don't have the resources we had. I mean, how could they possibly be as good? Like they couldn't learn from the same people we learned from. So I think that's more of a explainable thing. But as far as transitioning from Overwatch goes, I mean, I think Corey and Baby Bay are great players. We made them both offers 9 months ago, and they went with FaZe, unfortunately. But we would love to have them on our team. So I think they're great players. Sinatra's a great player. There's definitely examples of people succeeding. But I think probably the real reason is that Overwatch is a more diverse game, right? Like Overwatch is a game that rewards all sorts of skills, like spatial awareness and intelligence and mechanics and communication. Whereas I think Valorant is more specifically focused on mechanics, right? I think that you get like some benefit out of utility. I think, especially if you play like Raze and stuff. Like I think Sinatra's done super well with utility. But for the most part, I don't think it's necessarily the case. The Overwatch players would have had the mechanics required to succeed in Valorant anyway. Just at like a biological level, right? Like the actual talent level wouldn't be high enough in a lot of cases. So I think that's probably why you see such an inconsistent result there.
Yeah, because I mean, more and more people are playing, at least Valorant, and with these new games. Like, I can't imagine the talent pool or whatever was there for Overwatch when it came out as it is for Valorant. Like, there's a ton of hungry fucking Zoomers, right?
Yeah.
There's a ton of people that are hungry for the fucking win. Like you mentioned, you have 17-year-old and a 19-year-old on the team. I mean, how is a 24-year-old like Overwatch washed up player gonna make it in Valorant when there's so many hungry like new individuals, right? New mechanically skilled
skilled players. I think CS is also a game that in NA at least suppressed talent, right? Like something that some players have told us is they really appreciate what we do because they never would have had opportunities for tryouts or to play on Immortals or whatever, whatever the case. In CS,
people had to throw in MDL and shit.
Yeah, to make money because a lot of really good players couldn't get opportunities in top level CS teams. Because of nepotism, right? And that's something I'm super wary of. I think that, like, we have to be careful, I think, when people in the community, especially people that came from CS, talk about how the game should be balanced and like, how things should work. And if they're just saying it should be like CS, we should be careful about that. I think that we can't allow people with the biggest voices to, try and push riot through the community into changing the game in a way that benefits them, right? Valorant's the same game, I think over time we'll see that, and I think Overwatch had this problem too, right? Like TF2 players in Overwatch were there at the start, and they weren't there at the end. I know that as a player, like the first match I won was against the best Australian Overwatch team, which was a bunch of TF2 players, and they absolutely believed they were the best, and they knew how to do everything, and they didn't. They just didn't. And like at the end of the day, smart people will succeed, and people who play Valorant well will succeed, and we need to let that happen, I think.
So who do you think in your head, because obviously new people and new players have come, who in your opinion is the best player in Valorant right now? Is it still like Tens, for example, that has played phenomenally in the past? Or who do you think is the best player right now then?
Not the best player at Teamwork, in my opinion. He's a great individual talent, but I think the best player has to be holistically good, right? They have to be good at everything. And it honestly could be Sinatraa. I don't know. That's tough. Sinatra's a player who can play every role. He is no doubt great at communicating. He knows how to adapt. He knows how to play different positions. He's great in high pressure situations. I think it could be him. I struggle to think of anyone like him.
People have been talking up Sick as well coming into the obviously in the weekend and stuff like that. He's been playing phenomenally. But you still think Sinatra's like better than him for sure, like 100%, just because of the impact he brings.
100%. Because the way I'd measure it is if you remove one of those two players from that team and you replace them with like just a really great player, like which one has a bigger impact on the team? I think Sinatraa. I think Sick is just a really good player, mechanically really skilled, plays like Phoenix and Sage really well. But Sinatra's not really replaceable. I think just fundamentally he's a player that is super creative and super confident and like takes risks in matches and knows how to do that. And I think there's nobody like him at the moment. So I think him.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, not to suck Sinatra's dick too much here. But I mean, like the guy is just generally good at games.
How can
like,
you not though? I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, like nobody's that good at like games overall. Maybe like you have in Counter-Strike there was a player called Elige, or still is a player called Elige. Elige was insane at Overwatch, insane at fucking Counter-Strike, insane at StarCraft even. Like there's just some people that are just good at games, and like Sinatra's one of them. Like Sinatra's just kind of that good at games and is just kind of irreplaceable. And that's not anything to diss Sick. It's just like Sinatraa could potentially end up being one of the GOATs in esports in general, honestly.
I mean, look at the grand final, right? Like, at the end of the day, they came into the grand final with the wrong comp, the wrong read on the meta, like just playing the game incorrectly. Shazam makes a stream saying, like, this game sucks, like, why doesn't the game work the way I want it to work? And then Sinatraa locks in Reyna on Icebox with no practice and drops 30 kills against Shut Up. Like, find me a player like that. Like, I don't know who that is. Like, he's the only one. So, yeah, justifiably, I think he's the best at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I had a quick question for you, specifically with packing 10 in you before we let you go soon. This is a little bit off topic, but obviously because you and Packing 10 have been working for a while, there was that period where you went from, when you played in Overwatch, you went from LA Valiant to then Boston Uprising, where you kind of had your own team, right? And then they had their own issues and stuff like that. I think I even was with you in like a tryout for Boston Uprising, something like that, back in 2019.
Yeah.
And then you went back to LA Valiant. What is the duo between you and Packing 10, and why is it better than? It may not just be better than you being by yourself, but what helps you and Packing 10 work so well together, whereas, maybe you guys by yourselves wouldn't, perform as well?
I mean, just to address like both points there, I think the Boston stuff, like, that was a tough year. I think it was a democracy. I think Krusty said this when he was there too, right? But the environment was so that everyone kind of got their opinion, and for that reason, I didn't want to be the head coach there. I didn't want that responsibility. So yeah, I'm not happy with that year either, obviously. Probably the only bad year I've had, honestly, as a coach. So I definitely look back on that as a lesson. But in terms of me and Packing, I mean, I think we're just kind of yin and yang. Like, we have pretty opposite traits in a lot of ways. I'm less empathetic, more like data-driven, more objective, less of a people person, more of like a good decision maker type person, right? Like, I'm really good at scouting and like deciding what strategies we should run. And I think sometimes we joke that like, I'm the brains and he's the guy that's good with people. He does all the talking and stuff. So he helps balance me out a lot. I think that he's a really rational person that he's good under pressure, and I think the way it works is just that we cover all the bases together. I think that he's really great at talking to players, and I'm not. So
you'd be like, "Oh, you're shit. Get the fuck out of here," or something like that.
Literally, that is what happens. Yeah. So if I go too far or something, he's there to help me out. Yeah. So working with him has just been a really good balance, I think, and that's why it works, right? Like, at the end of the day, I think that we've seen this in Overwatch. We've seen this in League of Legends. Coaching teams work through balance, and you'll often have a balance where like the head coach is like less of a game knowledge person and more of like a like a team dad, and like they keep everyone in line, and that like they're someone like good cop almost. And then you have like a strategic coach that does more of the in-game stuff and like talks directly with the players about how to play the game and criticizes them and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the relationship we have as well. Yeah, pretty similar to Overwatch League.
Yeah. We have one more thing for you. I think Max is going to bring it up here for you.
Yeah. So we have one viewer question for you from Trigger Happy. I'm curious what you think of Shazam and other comments regarding the current meta and the balance of the game, with the Sentinels being nerfed and the op being too expensive.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about game balance because if you look at Europe, which is a region that has objectively more players than NA, it's a bigger region than NA, and you should expect more talent to be there. They play a completely different game, and they make that work. So it's kind of hard to talk about balance without considering that. And like, so any comment that's like, Rain is overpowered, Sentinels are underpowered, strategy is not that valuable. I mean, it's hard to justify that sort of comment in reality, right? When like only NA is playing this way. I personally think it's the best way to play the game. I don't think Sentinels are underpowered. They're played on every map, like sometimes two of them, right? Like, I don't think we can make that argument. I think a lot of teams are dropping duelists for more Sentinels. I think that those comments are made in the heat of the moment, and they're not reflective of reality in any way, right? And to talk about like Jet AWPing, right? Like, I think Shazam talked about like AWPing being underpowered and AWPing not being a good solution to these problems. It's like Jet's played on almost every map with an AWP, right? Like, is that really something that's not powerful? Is that something that's weak? I don't think so. Like, I think also on top of that, just to add to like the Shazam part of that story, it's like, was Sentinels a team that was playing such different comps to every other team in the event? Like, they played the same comp with Raze instead of Rainer at the end of the day. I mean, like, what are we talking about here? Like, I don't know. It's just he was frustrated.
Not much.
And I think the logical part of the argument was missed, which happens when you're frustrated. Like, I say stupid shit when we lose too. Like, it is what it is. So can't hold it against him. But I wouldn't use that as a reference for balancing the game.
Yeah, because the game's still young. I mean, obviously, like,
it's 9 months, man. Like, don't trust anyone's opinion on the game. No one's an expert. Like, dude, like, trust Riot. Like,
yeah. Maybe like 2 to 3 years down the line or something like that, we can start, criticizing it a little bit more. Like in Overwatch, like if you get a meta that literally kills the game or whatever, then maybe you can start talking about it. But the game's still pretty young, like you mentioned. It's still obviously improving in terms of people playing it and stuff. There's so much time.
I think people trust pro players too much, right? And they did in Overwatch too, right? I mean, you're a pro player, I was a pro player. I'm sure we had terrible opinions. Like, I made a video for Tempo Storm once, and I was like, Genji's going to be absolutely terrible next patch. Don't play Genji. And Genji was the best hero in the game for like a year straight. Like, pro players.
God,
don't know if you remember that video, but Jesus Christ, like I'll never live that down. But
well, okay, sorry to cut you off, Gunba. In Overwatch, okay, this is an Overwatch question because this was a problem for us last year in the hero pool changes, because at least for us, we struggled between the idea that the coaches should pick the heroes we play or whatever, and then we also struggled between players picking, and then we found out like throughout the whole year. So for a majority of the year, our coaches were kind of picking our roster in the hero pool selection. Like the majority of the year was that, but it was changing so much. Obviously, you remember it was changing so much.
Yeah,
the hero pools, the meta was changing so much that you were like, oh fuck, man, we need to have the players do this because it changes so much. And then we actually started to find success. Obviously in that situation, it's a little bit different from team to team, I imagine. But do you think that like at least in Overwatch last year, what was your guys' situation on LA Valiant? Was the coaches picking the roster because of hero pool changes and stuff?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think that depends on your coaches and depends on your players. And I mean, Valiant is a situation and always has been. And same with our Valiant roster. We're a team with really great experienced coaches and really inexperienced players, right? So I think the dynamic for our team may have been different. Almost nobody on our team really had like league experience, so we picked all the rosters and we picked all the heroes, and we would do that with them though to give them credit, right? Like we would ask them for ideas or like, what do you guys think about this? Or and they would get back to us, and sometimes they would say something that sounded completely stupid and would say, fuck it, let's do it, let's try it, and we'd play that in the match. So it's more of a collaborative effort, I think, but with authority given to the coaches to make the final decision and just like solve all the arguments. That's how we did it. Yeah, I'm sure other teams did it differently.
Yeah, it was a lot different from last year. But thanks for coming on, Goomba. One last question, Goomba. Do you think that I could be a professional Valor player?
No, fuck no, dude. No way.
Goomba. Get the fuck out of here, Goomba. Fuck you, dude. Whatever. It's all ruined. Oh, whatever, man. Just fuck off, bro. And thanks for coming, Gunba, though. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me on.
See you later, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. All right. I'm not...
You couldn't make it, Dustin.
Don't laugh at me,
you couldn't make it.
Fucking asshole.
There's no support role for you to fall back on.
Fuck, dude. Whatever, man. On that bombshell, we're calling the show. We're calling the fucking show. Thanks to Alberto. Thank you to Siren. Thank you to Samantha. Thank you to Max and Anthony, but especially fuck Gunba. Now, screw our guest, bro.
No,
he's terrible.
No, he's probably my favorite guest now.
No. God damn it. On that bombshell, we'll see you guys tomorrow. We interview Thorin. See you tomorrow. The esports historian. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Guests have called you washed, and now can't be pro and Valorant.
Fucking watch me, dude. This is Michael Jordan moment. I take this shit seriously now.
And I took that personally.
This is when I take it personally.
What are you gonna do